Hi, so what we're doing today, we're changing the outdoor light on the Swift Motorhome. What they tend to do, they tend to get water in them and the LEDs just stop working. Unfortunately, you can't dry them out. They are an expensive item. I managed to get one online for about £72. For a little strip light, it's quite expensive. However, they are stuck on. I did a bit of research. They're not screwed on or anything. Just need a little bit of time and patience getting them off. I'll show you this little short video, and then if you need to change one yourself, you might feel confident in doing it. Quite an easy job, and yeah, hopefully watch to the end and you'll see how easy it is. If you're going to do this with the Stanley knife, carefully angle your knife so that you're away from the motorhome. You don't scratch the back edge on the front of your motorhome. You'll see that I've got just the blade going in. You'll probably have to cut it a few times to free it up. Once you get through it, you'll see that the blade goes deeper and it's cutting the tape. When you think you've cut through most of the tape, you can get yourself a little knife, just start to pry it. When you get it wide enough, you'll be able to put the blade in a little deeper. Making sure all the time you're not rubbing against the motorhome. Eventually, you'll start to see it coming away. Now, it's not a 2-minute job. It needs a little bit of patience. If you do it neatly, you'll find sometimes they'll come off really easy. So many people are impatient when they do this, purely because they get it ripped off and the new one back on again. If you're patient with it, it will come off, and you'll find quite often, once you've cut through the tape, it leaves all the backing and the silicone, horrible stuff. So my next task is to get all that cleaned off. Which again can be tricky because you don't want to mark any of the motorhome face. I think the best option for us today is to cut through the wires, pull the connector through, and then we'll feed the connector back through the hole when it's all cleaned off. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to clean up around the edges. I'm going to leave this hanging for the time being. It kind of helps you as a reminder not to scratch your motorhome, because if I start going like this without that there, you tend to scratch it. So if I go a little bit careful, I'll hopefully be able to get this off quite neat. What I'm going to go do now is go get myself a Stanley scraper blade, a couple of clean new Stanley knife blades, and yeah, we'll dig in there and we'll get that cleaned off quickly as possible. As you can see, sometimes a Stanley blade can be a little bit too sharp and dig in. Likewise with the razor blade. So on this occasion I'm going to use something like a putty knife, scraping knife, something a little less sharp. As you can see, comes off a lot better. The centre part's always going to be the hardest part. That's where the silicone will have pumped through to stop any water getting in on the wires. Okay, time to get a little bit of solvent cleaner, clean up the plastic, get that nice and clean, ready for the new light, and then we'll pick out the old sealant in the hole there. As you can see, this is one of the hardest bits. I forgot to mention too, it's highly recommended that you switch off the Sergeant control unit. Sometimes it's better to disconnect your battery as well. If you're working with anything electric, then it's always advisable. Personally, I've just switched the control unit off, made sure there's no power, and I'll bob that back on again when I put the new light on. And that looks like it's all out. I'll give this a bit of a wipe now, and hopefully we're ready for the new light. And there we are, all ready for the new light. So I thought I'd show you really quickly inside. That's the wire. It just runs into that wiring loom there. That's your connector. So when we take the light off, we'll just disconnect the connector there. You'll always have two spares there. They're not needed. I'm not too sure what they're for. Perhaps I'll have to find out. But anyway, it's a straightforward connection. The wire will come back in through, outside, up there, and then just connect in there. With mine, it's above the microwave, so it's quite easy. I've heard of them being behind the panels, the control panel there, and I've heard of them being behind this cupboard here as well. But fortunately, it's just above the microwave. Well, we may have to slide the microwave out just to feed the wire in, but apart from that, yeah, straightforward. So the new one's come, all packaged up, fairly straightforward. I think it's about £74, which doesn't seem a lot for a light. There's a self-adhesive backing, and obviously easy plug. Just going to feed that back through, stick it on, and hey presto, new shiny light. Before